Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Celtics Talk Radio live video chats. This is edition 47th, and today it is Saturday, 23rd November, around 2, close to 2 p.m. Eastern, and we are recapping the Celtics road trip. The Celtics went 2-3 on their road trip, but they lost 3 games from Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Clippers, and Denver Nuggets by total sum of 8 points. That is pretty impressive considering considering the circumstances on that road trip. So let me read you the results on that road trip. Last night in Denver we lost 96-92. Also Kemba Walker was injured early in the game, but he's okay. We will give you updates later about Walker. Then previously we lost from Clippers in overtime 107-104. Previously we defeated Phoenix 99-85. And we lost from Sacramento 199, and we defeated the Golden State Warriors 105-100. It was one possession game, but Kemba Walker was clutch. So accumulative on this road trip 2-3. Now this is pretty impressive because we played the entire trip without Kemba Walker. We played final half against Denver without Kemba Walker. We played entire trip without Gordon Hayward. We played final half without Kemba Walker. We switched time zones during the trip 4 times. We played 5 times in 8 days. We played one back-to-back game, and we played one back-to-back game. We played 3 teams with winning records, including top 3 contenders for the titles. I can freely say. Then we finished the trip in most demanding physical environment in league, which is Denver. As final note, I can say this: I have zero discouragement after this trip because Boston can certainly play much better, but it was highly competitive in every single game, despite the list above. And that last night game, it gave the Celtics reference points, a point for how mentally tough they really are. And I really can, I really can applaud to the Celtics for their effort. Of course, in the Denver. But what I want to say that after this road trip, sadly, the Celtics are number 3 place at the Eastern Conference. And they are sitting, if I'm correct, I'm searching for the standings, they are sitting 1 game behind Milwaukee Bucks and behind Miami Heat. Now, Daniel, we expected the Milwaukee Bucks to be good, but somehow everybody underrated Miami Heat. So number 1 Milwaukee 12-3, 80%. Number 2 Miami 11-3, 78.6%. Number 3 Boston 11-4. Toronto 10-4. Toronto practically having 71.4%, and Boston number 3 having 73.3%. Toronto is tied with us with 4 losses, but they have 1 less win. Toronto 10 wins and Boston 11 wins. But if they win the next game, the Toronto Raptors will have tied record with the Celtics. So the next games, Sacramento, 25th, early 1:30 a.m. That is on the Monday. Then Brooklyn without Kyrie Irving Wednesday night, 1 a.m. And also Brooklyn 6 p.m. Eastern, I think also without Kyrie Irving. Number 5, Philadelphia 10-5. Number 6, Indiana 8-6. Number 7, Brooklyn 7-8. Number 8, Orlando 6-8. Daniel, from those teams that we predicted, or precisely I predicted, I had Philadelphia number 2 and Miami number 5. So this is the only switch that we got. Miami is number 2 and Philadelphia is number 5. I've got, can you? Okay. So Indiana number 6, that is okay. Brooklyn number 7, that is okay. Now position number 8, Orlando. I mean, I have Charlotte. I had Charlotte at position number 8, but this is not important. What is important is let me give you the update about Kemba Walker. Last night, Kemba Walker was injured because he practically hit the wall called Shemiojule, and he suffered concussion-like symptoms. And according to Shams Charania, the Athletics insider, tests on Kemba Walker so far have had clean results. Brad Stevens reported. Celtics star Kemba Walker has been diagnosed with concussion-like symptoms. So, by the way, Kyrie's new return date to Boston is March 3rd. After Nets say that he will miss the next 3 games, including Boston trip Wednesday night due to the shoulder injury. One really bizarre information: the Celtics left Boston 9 days ago with the best offensive record in the league. On this 5 games road trip, look at the numbers. On this 5 games road trip, the offense was before the trip number 1, during the trip 30th, the worst in the league. Without Gordon Hayward, the 30th in the league. Now, overall, after the trip, we have 12th offense. We don't have top 10 offense, okay? Defense was 11th prior to the trip, but during the trip, defense was number 1 in the league. So accumulative, this is number 5 offense in the league. So overall rating was first before the trip in the league. During the road, overall offense plus defense, first before the trip. During the road trip, number 13 in the NBA, and after the trip, it is overall 6th. Isn't that strange, Daniel? It is encouraging that the Celtics are winning with their defense, but the offense fell down.
Well, it's not a surprise based on the way the guys have been playing. If anybody that's really been watching and paying attention in this situation, you would notice that our guys, for one, have been getting off to slow starts the last 5 games or so, where really the other team is going ahead of us by double digits at times, has the lead after the first quarter or even at halftime, and it seems like the Celtics really managed to ramp things up and get going in the second quarter or sometimes in the second half in this situation. And for them, it's been good enough to actually keep them in the games. Of course, you had, the game last night where you went down double digits against Denver, and ultimately the Celtics pulled to within 6 points with about 3 minutes to go. And of course, that's where the unfortunate accident for Kemba Walker took place, with him, like you said, crashing headfirst into Semi Ojeley's body as Kemba was trying to make a steal on the defensive end, and that completely knocked him out in this situation, not moving and all of that. So that was a pretty scary play last night. And then the Celtics after that lost the momentum and lost the lead, from being down 6 to being down again double digits, and it took them all the way into the fourth quarter to actually make another decent run to where they got back to within 6 or less. They pulled to within 1 point in this case, but ultimately lost at 4. If the Celtics had been playing without those, long time, first quarters where they're really out of it, then I think the offense would still be ranked pretty high up. But another thing that we have to consider that plays a role in all of that is injuries. You mentioned Kemba being injured last night, but you also, as you said, don't have Gordon Hayward right now. And so Hayward was pretty much the guy that was being the most consistent out of all of our top players before he went down with that injury in this case. And having 4 offensive weapons on the floor is much more difficult to guard for the opposing defenses than it is having only 3 in this case. So I feel that once both Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward come back, the offense will go back to rolling like it was prior to the injuries. But this is now going to be a situation where the Celtics are going to have to win these games defensively, like they almost won last night by defense, because of the fact that now you got 2 of your top 4 offensive weapons out, and all the offensive pressure now is going to fall onto the same 2 guys that everybody's been trying to say are max contract players. It's all going to fall now on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to basically keep this team afloat on the offensive end and try to basically keep us in guess you could say, giving a challenge to everybody. Last night was a good example, but last night, ladies and gentlemen, Tatum and Brown were not the ones that actually led the charge in making that giant comeback to get back to within striking distance of the Denver Nuggets. Shockingly, Igor, that was Marcus Smart and Brad Wanamaker that actually made the comeback in this case. So those 2, can basically do something.
Let me remind you, before the season, the fans have been trashing Brad Wanamaker, and they have been saying, cut Brad Wanamaker and sign Tremont Waters on our page.
That's another thing. Last night was a good performance by Brad Wanamaker to kind of shut up all the people who were basically saying he doesn't belong on the team, get rid of him and all of that. Because last night, if Brad Wanamaker doesn't have the performance he does, you're not within striking distance come the end of the game. You're probably still down double digits. I know in the first half of the fourth quarter, the Celtics scored 15 points, and I believe 10 of the 15 were between Marcus Smart and Wanamaker. The other,
I will read statistics later when you finish. Okay.
The other 5 points were Javonte Green nailed a 3, and I believe Robert Williams tipped in a miss in this case. So that's a pretty impressive, first half of the fourth quarter for those 2 guys. And they're going to have to keep it up in order for us to actually stay afloat. If Kemba Walker is out for any, long term, let's say, I'd be shocked if he plays tomorrow in the game against Brooklyn in this case, or Sacramento, should I say, which that game is at 7 o'clock, 7:30 Eastern time. But if he's out for an extended period, I expect Brad Wanamaker to be thrown into the starting lineup by Brad Stevens to join with Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Daniel Tice in this case, which means now the bench is going to be even more weaker because now basically the 2 best guys you had on the bench in terms of guard play are now having to start. So it's going to come up to guys like Robert Williams, Enes Kanter, and Javonte Green to keep the bench afloat along with Carson Edwards, because Grant Williams, I believe pretty much he's not an offensive threat, ladies and gentlemen. So far it's being shown he hasn't nailed a single three-pointer throughout the entire season thus far. He's more of a guy that's going to get his points down low, and he can only do that by playing players who are basically the same size as he is. We saw that last night, that the moment Brad Stevens took Robert Williams out of the game and threw Grant Williams in, the Celtics ended up losing the fact that they were only 2 possessions down, and it ended up being a 4-possession game in this situation. And the moment he took Grant Williams back out and threw Robert Williams back in, the Celtics once again got it close. So it's unfortunate, Igor. Right now, the injuries are hitting us, but at least they're hitting us early in the season, not towards the end or in the playoffs in this case. But the next few weeks will give Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown a chance to actually, show they deserve max contracts, and it will also give some of these other guys on the bench more playing time to actually get themselves into a role that hopefully they can actually keep once Kemba and Hayward come back.
Right. Let us start with Denver Nuggets game. You wanted the statistics, and you was talking about the statistics. I have the statistics. So the Celtics lost 96-92, like I said. Points in the paint, 46-44 for the Celtics. So kudos to Daniel Tice, Robert Williams, Shemi Ojule, Jaylen Brown, and Enes Kanter for boxing out and outplaying the Nuggets centers in the paint, 46-44, plus 2 in the paint. When you look at the rebounds, 48-40 rebounds for Denver. The second chance points, however, the Celtics tied 14-14. This is the great stuff for the Celtics because Nuggets are good in the paint. Fast break points, that is where the Nuggets are also good, 20-7 for the Celtics. So practically in all parameters at the end, the Celtics are tied or leading. Plus 2 in points in the paint, tied in second chance points, plus 13 in fast break points. So how did we lose? Where did the Nuggets outplay us? When you look at the 3-point shooting, 727 Celtics or 26%, and 728 Nuggets or 25%, almost identical. Then you look at the free throws. The Celtics had 19 of 23 free throws, and the Nuggets 11 of 13. Again, the Celtics have plus 8 from the free throw line, from the 3-point line tied, plus 8 from the 3-point line, but the Nuggets the Nuggets had 6 more 2-pointers made in the game. 6 more 2-pointers made at the game. The Nuggets shoot it 39 out of 88 from the field, which is 44%, and the Celtics shoot it 33 out of 81 from the field, or 41%. So practically the Nuggets outscored us for 2 points in the paint or deep 2. They are plus 12. So the Celtics are plus 8 from the 3 points from the free throw line. So accumulative, it is giving the results of plus 4 for Denver Nuggets. Now let me read you the starters and the points. You have Jaylen Brown, 36 minutes, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, -1. He was -1. So Jason Tatum, 16 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. Jaylen Brown was shooting 6 of 15. So Jaylen Brown shooting 4 of 7 for 3, which is excellent, more than 50%, 60%. But accumulative, he was shooting 6 for 15, which is 35 or less percent, which is bad. So bad shooting night for Jaylen Brown, yet he had 8 free throws and scored 6 and 22 points and 10 rebounds and 4 assists, one good game, but still he was -1. Jason Tatum, 16 points and 2 rebounds, 3 assists. He was -23. The team worse, -23, plus/minus for Jason Tatum. Daniel Tice, starting center, 7 points, 3 rebounds, and -5. Jason Tatum was shooting 6 of 16 and 0 for 5 for 3 points. So practically without scored 3-pointer. Bad shooting night for Jason Tatum. Daniel Tice, 3 of 6, 50% shooting, 7 points, 3 rebounds, excellent. Again, Marcus Smart, 32 points, 30 seconds, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 charges, -12, shooting 5 of 11, and 1 of 2 for 3, which is 50%. Walker left the game after 12 minutes. And bench, Grant Williams, 17 points, 0 plus 8, 0 for 4 shooting. He was bad. Robert Williams III, 4 points, 4 rebounds, and +2. He was trying 2 of 2 for 2. He was shooting 2 of 2 and 4 points, 4 rebounds. Solid game for Robert Williams III. Defensive anchor again, 15 points. Carson Edwards in 7 minutes, 3-pointers. Not a blistering game. Brad Wanamaker, fantastic game with 14 points and plus 18. 14 points plus 18, shooting 5 of 8 from the field, but 0 for 2 without score 3. 0 for 2 for 3. 4 for 4 shooting free throws and 14 points. Brad Wanamaker, the creator of the Celtics comeback from -17 in the fourth, like Danny said. We will see later that graphic. And Enes Kanter, 14 minutes, 4 points, 5 rebounds, solid but not great. Shemi Ojale, good defensive game, 20 minutes, 30 seconds, 2 points, but rock on the defense. Javonte Green, 9 minutes and 30 seconds, 5 points, 1 rebound and 1 assist. So we shoot it 41% accumulative, 26 for 3, which is bad. And we were out-rebounded -8, but still we were tied in the points in the paint. That is the game breakdown. Now, Daniel, if I'm correct, you wanted to see officially fourth period scorers for the Celtics, right? So officially four period scorers for the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, he scored 10 points in the fourth period, 7 points Jason Tatum, 6 points Marcus Smart, and 8 points for Bradley Wanamaker. So Brown 10, 8 Bradley Wanamaker, 7 Jason Tatum, and 6 points Marcus Smart. That period fourth, Celtics won 35-26. In that period, only Paul Millsap scored 8, and Jamal Murray scored 8. Jokic only 2. So, do you want to comment about the statistics about the Denver game?
Well, again, like I said, the key thing was the points that you mentioned just now for the fourth quarter from Marcus Smart and Brad Wanamaker were mainly done earlier in the fourth quarter when the Celtics were trying to come back from double digits. Tatum and Brown kind of took over late in the game in this case after the Celtics had lost the opportunity to make it a 3-point one possession game and instead went back up to being close to 10 or a little over 10 with Grant Williams on the floor. So, Jaylen Brown and Tatum in this situation, I'm just saying that they played towards the end in this case where the Celtics, were finally, right there with Denver they hit a lot of the key shots late in the game, like trying to hit, like I think Tatum hit a 3-pointer that made it go from 6 to 3 in this case, and then Denver came back and got a 2 to take it back up to 5. But if Brad Wanamaker and Marcus Smart do not do what they did earlier in the fourth quarter without Tatum and Brown, then this whole thing probably doesn't end up being a close game at the end of the game. So those two guys, Marcus Smart and Brad Wanamaker, deserve a ton of credit for the way they played last night in that fourth quarter. In this case, a lot of big defensive plays done by those guys as well. Marcus Smart and Wanamaker forcing a few turnovers in this case and getting baskets for other guys. Like I said, I know Wanamaker alley-ooped it, I believe, at one point for Robert Williams or something like that. They ended up getting Javonte Green to hit a 3 while they were on the court with him. So it's a good sign, Igor. It's unfortunate that we lost that game, but it's a good sign that I feel Brad Wanamaker, if he can play like this, the team should be able to stay afloat over these next few weeks without Hayward and Walker. Only problem is Brad Wanamaker hasn't shown himself to be a consistent player like that. But now odds are he's going to start. He's going to get a lot more minutes, so he should be able to basically give you a good performance. And I'm not saying he's got to be like Kemba Walker scoring 25, 30 points, but at least get to 10 points, something like that, decent, while also being able to share the ball and get decent shots for the other guys. Because you can say, Igor, our guys starting slow, it's not like they're starting slow taking a bunch of bad shots. No, the guys have been taking some pretty decent shots in the first quarter. They just haven't been falling down in this case. So being back at home, I have a feeling things will change over the next few games in this case. Of course, unfortunately, the game against Brooklyn is not going to have Kyrie Irving playing, so our guys will not get to have a statement game against Brooklyn now that both their top two guys are out in this situation, because of course Kevin Durant's not playing the entire season in all likelihood. So this is just a situation where I can say stay afloat, keep the boat above sea level in this situation. Don't go sinking. Keep the boat floating while Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward are out. If you can do that, you got the job done.
I'm really not the one that is believing in narratives like there are good losses, you should be encouraged with the loss. But really, during this road trip, considering all the circumstances and difficulties and adversity that the Celtics faced, really they lost 3 games, 8 points, and we really should be proud because they are locked in early in the season. They played like this is elimination games, this is the playoffs, and they're playing this way every night. And considering this Celtics squad, lack of talent and depth of the bench, in my opinion, we cannot ask anything more from this squad, Now, if you expected better results and better plays from inexperienced players, 7 or 8 rookies, including Tremont Waters and Taco Fall, if you expected from rookies and sophomores, first or second year period guys, if you expected better plays, then you're just not realistic, Then you're overrating this team, you're overrating experiences of these players. And again, kudos to Brad Stevenson, his staff. He has 12 assistant coaches, including 2 female. And those guys did a great job putting the players in the best possible position to win. Especially, for example, look at Enes Kanter. Me have been criticized Enes Kanter for his defense. I'm not the fan of his game, but he can be useful player if coach uses Enes Kanter the right way, just like Brad Stevens. For example, if I'm correct, Alex Kungu, I can find that statistics, he is positive, Enes Kanter, but on career level, he is negative. What does that mean? That Enes Kanter is changed player? No. It means only that Brad Stevens and his staff, they put Enes Kanter in the right position to win, and when they see that Enes Kanter is making troubles, when they see that Enes Kanter is making mistakes and allowing points on the defensive end, they are automatically subbing out Enes Kanter, you know? So they are trying to use his offense, they are trying to use his rebounds, his boxing out, they are trying to use, Enes Kanter's experience, and they have been doing that good way thus far. So that has been said. I want to say that maybe early Enes Kanter on-off net rating during the road trip plus 29.6. Robert Williams on-off rating during the road trip minus 24.2. Now, overall, Enes Kanter has plus 5.3 on-off rating. On-off rating. On-off rating is net rating of the team while Enes Kanter is on the floor, minus net rating while Enes Kanter is off the floor. So overall, Enes Kanter is plus 5.3 on-off rating on the floor during the 5 games trip, and Robert Williams is minus 6. This isn't Enes Kanter is better than you think treat. This is just highlighting how the Celtics coaches have been doing good job using Kanter in situationally well, where he's not being exposed as horrible pick and roll defender and horrible paint defender, you know. So he has not been exposed as bad defender to the extent that you think. This is just one example. Let's skip to another game, Daniel. This is 107, 104 loss from Los Angeles Clippers in overtime. The Celtics first period 22-21 Clippers, the second period 21-18 Boston, the third period 33-29 Boston, and fourth period 28-22 Clippers, and overtime 10-7 Clippers. Accumulated 107-104. Practically the 2 threes from Patrick Beverley, who was phenomenal on the defense. Those 2 threes sealed the deal in the overtime, and practically Doc Rivers was using the lineup of Paul George, of course Lou Williams, Kawhi Leonard, Montrezl Harrell, and Patrick Beverley. And it was Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell pick and roll in one sentence at the end of the overtime. Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams pick and roll. The Celtics defended by dropping. So Montrezl Harrell just in the short roll passed the ball in the corner to the alone Patrick Beverley, and he shot it like 11 or 18 for 3 before that game, and he sealed the deal. He scored 2 threes in a row, and that's how the Clippers won. One single note, Daniel, of course, we can be happy the way this ended, but everybody was saying the Clippers played their best game and the Celtics can be better. I really disagree about that, and I will tell you why. First of all, this was close to maximum Clippers. They missed Landry Shamet, their excellent shooter, okay, and we missed Gordon Hayward on that game, and so they were not complete. This is first thing, and the second thing, this is the first game with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard together. First game. So they didn't get the time to gel yet. But you could see, Daniel, why the people are saying that the Clippers are contenders. They have such a good schemes, such a good rotations, and when Landry Shamet is back, when Landry Shamet is back, and when Doc Rivers have the full rotations, and cut the rotations, can you hear me? When cut the rotations, when I don't know, JaMychal Green cuts off, or the other guys that are not important, when he cuts the rotation to 8 guys in the playoffs, they really, Daniel, can switch everything. They really can adjust to every style of playing, and they have such a good defense that I cannot describe you. And you saw it last night. They have Pat Beverly, that is Marcus Smart like. They flash with Beverly and Marcus Smart. Kawhi Leonard, who was Defensive Player of the Year award winner earlier in his career. Okay. Can you hear me now? So Paul George is above average defender. Kawhi Leonard is a good defender. Then Maurice Harkless. Okay, you can say that he's not a good defender. Ivica Zubas is a big man. You see how he's fighting over the screens, how he's putting the good picks, how he's hustling. He's big center, he's good center, and he's the big man who can defend. The big man I love, that type of big man. Patrick Beverly, I don't have to waste my time on him. Louis Williams, okay, you can say he is liability in the defense, but you saw that he is hustling. He stole the 2 balls to Kemba Walker, if I'm correct. So, they will have Landry Shamet and Monte Harrell, the guys like JaMychal Green, Rodney McGruder, Terrence Mann, Jerome Robinson, Patrick Patterson. They are not going to play, okay? But they are really, really, really good. Kudos to our Celtics for staying in the game without Gordon Hayward with those Clippers. But let's put it this way. This was not a game from the Celtics, and this was not a game from the Clippers. But it was hard, intense games, and it was playoff intensity game. Agree? Disagree?
I agree in this case that was a incredible game we saw between the Clippers and the Celtics. Of course, for me, my little brother's a Clippers fan, so technically he got the bragging rights as of right now. But like you said, that was not the best from the Celtics, nor the best from the Clippers in this case. That was the first game for the Clippers where both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George would be on the floor at the same time in this case. So it's not like Kawhi and Paul George have both been playing the entire season together in this situation. No, it was the first chance they had, the Clippers, to get them both to play in the same game. So, the team was having to adjust on the Clippers side to having to basically deal with both of them wanting the ball, both of them wanting to shoot in this case. And then, like you said, they were missing a few players, and we were missing Gordon Hayward in this case. And, of course, once again, another bad offensive start to start the game. Our best players not making their shots,
Yeah.
and you had to come back again in that game.
Talk about
in this case,
we talk about the bad offense. We will try to analyze a little about the offense, Danny, after we analyze the first loss, Sacramento. Please go on.
Yeah. So again, it was a big time performance though from both teams in terms of really going at it with each other, especially after the Celtics did make a game of it and ultimately took the lead. But I can understand why fans would be upset, Igor, with the fact that we lost that game, mainly because you had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and in not even 3 minutes, the Clippers managed to take that lead all the way down to a one-possession game in this case, because your guys once again ended up going into an offensive funk in that game towards the end of the game in this situation, and it took ultimately Tatum having to hit a big-time three-pointer where he broke the ankles, I guess you could say, of Paul George, making George go to the floor. Many people feel that he did shove Paul George to the side, and he probably could have been called for an offensive foul, but the officials let it go in this case. But it took a three-pointer from Tatum with less than 30 seconds to go in order to force this game to overtime. And in overtime, it was the top players from the Clippers who actually showed why they are maximum contract players. It wasn't the Celtics top guys in this situation who showed up, But as I said to my little brother, we gotta wait till the next time we play you guys, and hopefully both teams will be healthy in that game. Because think about it, having no Gordon Hayward means that Kawhi Leonard and or Paul George, one of them is now on Kemba Walker. In this case, a majority of that game saw Kawhi Leonard defending Kemba. And so Kemba is undersized in that matchup, so he was going to have his offensive struggles having to be defended by Kawhi Leonard, who in my opinion is one of the top defensive players in the league.
This is something that we must discuss. When you mentioned, excuse me for jumping in, the way the Clippers stopped Kemba and the Celtics offense, it was impressive. They were meeting Kemba at early high at the point where the Celtics are setting pick. For example, Daniel Tice. Okay, so they were meeting there. Patrick Beverly, who is taller. Patrick Beverly is 2 meters. Our fans were offended with me saying that Kemba has deficiencies, and this is why I don't like short point guards. When they face the tall point guards like Simmons, like Pat Beverly, Louis Williams, okay, he's switching on Kemba Walker. So they were switching on him, Pat Beverly, usually. They were fighting over the screen, okay. They were giving the space to Kemba not to run vertically towards the basket, but on the side. And on the side, left side and right side, you got help defenders. So what is happening after the pick? So they were fighting over the screen, Pat Beverly following him, and then Kawhi Leonard from one side and Paul George from another side helping on Kemba Walker and double team him. So that way they are forcing the Celtics to pass the ball. So Kemba cannot be the main ball handler. And what is the trouble? The trouble is that the Celtics missing Gordon Hayward, secondary playmaker. So that way the Celtics offense is not good, because right now Jaylen Brown, who is not a good secondary playmaker, is forced to be the primary ball handler. Or Jason Tatum, who can do it but not every night, because this is not his position. He's not a point guard, right? So they have, or Marcus Smart, and they have been really comfortable in letting Marcus Smart to shoot, okay? So this is how they defended the Celtics, and this was Doc Rivers' brilliant game plan, and it worked. So the conclusion from this game, Daniel, from me, and from Philadelphia 76ers game, the Celtics fans, they have short memory just like chicken, but I don't, and you don't. Remember, the first game what happened? The similar thing, switching and taking off the game Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker is the key guy of the Celtics. If you can eliminate completely from the game Kemba Walker, you finish 50% of the business against the Celtics, because their offense is stagnant, especially without Hayward. So conclusion is, in the playoff circumstances, you can game plan Kemba Walker out of the game, and this is not a good sign. This is not a good sign for the Celtics for the playoffs, because Kemba Walker has his limitations, natural limitations. He's a good guy, he's good players, but he can be schemed out of the playoff game. Schemed out of the playoff game if you have the right personnel to throw at him, like Philadelphia, the tall guys, the tall guards, and Clippers, the tall guys, the tall guards. Right?
Yeah, but, again, that's why, we say that in a game like that against, the Clippers, the guys who got to step up in those type of performances are Tatum, Brown, Hayward, Smart, because Kemba is going to be guarded. So we saw, again, a Clipper team, like you said, that put arguably their best defensive player, much bigger than Kemba, on Kemba, and it caused Kemba to struggle in this case. And so after that, you think about it, it led to, like you said, a stagnant offense, to where the rest of the guys really couldn't get the shots they would really like, because they were having to find a way to get the shot themselves in this case. Mm-hmm. But, as we said, you did manage to take them to overtime, but you had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter of that game. That is a game, ladies and gentlemen, that, there's some positives you can take away from it, knowing you don't have Hayward, but at the same time, you should not have lost that game if you were able to get 10-point lead.
That's what the guys from ESPN highlighted. I don't know the names, it is not important. They said, who can be more pleased with this victory? Who can be more encouraged, the Clippers or the Celtics? And they said the Clippers. Why? Because they came down from -10 in the fourth period and defeated the Celtics +3 in the overtime. It is 13-point swing. This is so that is why the Clippers should be more encouraged with this game than the Celtics, right?
Well, I think the one you're talking about, the segment, was from ESPN First Take the very next morning, where Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith were debating
No, not those two. The two experts were talking. Forgot their name. It is not important.
Okay,
please go on.
Okay, well, like I said, I know the very next morning, First Take had a discussion about this game, and we're discussing what this game. Who does it say more about? Does it say more about the Celtics, or does it say more about the Clippers? Max Kellerman, of course, who was a big-time anti-Boston fan, pretty much automatically said it was the Clippers. Stephen A. Smith, however, said this said more about the Celtics, because he said we know what the Clippers are all about and what the Clippers are capable of with those two stars on their roster. However, the fact that Boston did not have Gordon Hayward in this game, and yet it still took the Clippers to go to overtime to beat you on their home court, he pretty much said, if the Celtics can play like that in every big game they have against teams like Philadelphia and Milwaukee, then they will have a shot to come out of the Eastern Conference. And remember, Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman are two of the experts that have said it's a two-team race. Milwaukee or Philadelphia. Boston is on the outside looking in. So that one performance, even in defeat, you managed to get Stephen A. Smith to finally open the door and say you have a shot where you can get to the NBA Finals, but you got to play the way you did last night in this case. Because he knows if you can play the way you did against the Clippers with Gordon Hayward on the floor, then you're the one that likely comes out victorious that night in this case. Say what you want, Igor, about, Shema and all these other guys that might have been missing in this case, but those guys' impact is not as big on the Clippers side as the impact Gordon Hayward can have for the Celtics.
No doubt. Landry Shammond, he is starter or bench shooting guard, whatever Doc decides. He is really streaky. I think that there was in one game last season, he scored 6 threes against us, but it doesn't matter. Let me break down short notes, break down the box score from the Clippers game. There were 7 ties and 18 lead changes in the game, and it took overtime session to determine a winner. Los Angeles finished overtime 10-5 run to win. Their defense was the key. They were holding Boston to 39% from the field and 27% from 3-point line. They also outblocked the Celtics. The Clippers had 9 blocks and 2 blocks Celtics. Again, defensive parameter. Jason Tatum led the Celtics with amazing 30 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals and 2 blocks. 30 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals and 2 blocks. Marcus Smart collected 15 points, 3 rebounds and 8 assists. Daniel Tice had 8 points, 14 rebounds and 6 assists. Paul George led the Clippers with 25 points, and Kawhi had 17 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals and 2 blocks. Pat Beverly collected 14 points, 16 rebounds and 7 assists and 3 steals. And Lou Williams led the bench with 27 points, 2 rebounds and 2 assists. One more thing from that game, Daniel, is that Brad Stevens admitted that he was on purpose leaving alone on the plays Patrick Beverly, because he was shooting like 11% for 3, and it seems like he made mistake, because Patrick Beverly responded to the challenge and sealed the deal in the overtime with 2 open threes. You know what I'm talking about? So this is another thing that we should say from this game. And again, we showed, like everybody said, that we can play on their court even with top 2 candidates, top 2 contender in the league. We can play even with them, and this is the thing to be encouraged. Like you said, without Gordon Hayward, and this is really the thing to be happy about, even considering that, of course, we lost. Boston, Sacramento, 99-100 loss. Again, Buddy Hield killed us. Buddy Hield, 35 points, 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and Harrison Barnes, he had 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Nemanja Bjelica, impressive double-double, 12 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists. Bogdan Bogdanovic, another Serbian, thrived off the bench, 12 points in 31 minutes, despite shooting 5 of 14 from the field. Jaylen Brown, who was top scoring threat for the Celtics, had 18 points and 8 rebounds and 2 steals. Kemba Walker, 15 points, 9 assists. which is impressive. Jason Tatum, Daniel Tice each finished with 14 points. Tatum also had 6 rebounds. Daniel Tice grabbed 10 rebounds in 22 minutes action. Enes Kanter, he had 10 points as a sub. Daniel, it was interesting clash, intense game, change. They were lead changes in the game, and like I said, Buddy Hield literally killed us. Despite all of that, we could have win the game if that ball from Marcus Smart last floater went in, but it went out, sadly. So just a note that Kings were without 2 of their top 3 players, without Marvin Bagley Jr., Marvin Bagley the third, the center, and De'Aaron Fox. So they're climbing up the standings, and they were led, like I said, by Buddy Hield, of course, their star, who was ascending with 35 points. Bogdanovic 12, Harrison Burns 13, Bjelica 12, and Rashawn Holmes 9. Rashawn Holmes had good, game-winning free throws, if I'm correct. So that's it. What do you say? Boston was without Gordon Hayward, Romeo Langford, Tremont Waters, and Taco Fall were at main. And Sacramento without De'Aaron Fox, Kyle Gay, Marvin Bagley the third, and Caleb Swingen. But key missing players, Bagley and Fox from Kings, and Hayward from Celtics.
Well, I think that's, out of all 3 losses we had on the road trip, that's the only one that people should be utterly upset with. Not only because of the guys that were missing, like you said, from the Sacramento side in this situation, but the fact that game, it seemed like the Celtics were behind the 8 ball in terms of not having energy to really, ramp it up a notch the entire game. That game there was more about, more than just a bad start in this situation. It wasn't like, the game against the Clippers or the game last night against the Nuggets where the Celtics started slow and then actually took it up a notch, took it to another level, and finally got heated up and took over. No, that was a game where you pretty much seemed like you had the ball, had the gear in neutral, pretty much, Igor, and played with the game in neutral. You were playing at medium speed. You never took it to the second, into drive in this situation, or pushed it into turbo in this case. So that was the only game, like I said, that you could be upset about, because our guys just did not seem like they had the energy and the effort put up in that game that they could have. And if they would have had just a little more effort, they could have won. And again, this is where I say, you mentioned just a little while ago, you're not one of those people that likes to say, oh, there's a moral victory in a loss in this case. I kind of say that you lose to a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers, for example, no matter what the circumstances are, that's a terrible loss. A game like this against Sacramento is the same thing. That's a team that's not on the same level you are in terms of talent, that had 2 of its top players missing while you had only 1 in this situation. So there was no excuse to lose that game against the Sacramento Kings. Regardless of whether it was by 1, 10, or 100, you should have never lost that game. So that's the only one I have an issue with the Celtics for in this case out of this road trip. So, and for those reasons and those reasons only in this case. Luckily, the next game is against Sacramento, so we will get to see our guys basically get some revenge against Sacramento tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night against them. But you really cannot, in my opinion, you cannot come out looking the same way you did against Sacramento in that game. Now you're without Kemba and you're without Gordon Hayward. We don't know whether or not the two guys for the Kings will return in this game. We'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out. But if those same two guys from the Kings are still missing in the next game, then you should still beat them, in my opinion. There is no excuse.
Absolutely. Those are their big three. Their big three projected are De'Aaron Fox, point guard, Buddy Hield, shooting guard, and Marvin Bagley III, the center that they drafted. So they were missing two of those three guys, and they are in some winning streak. They're climbing. They're close to 8th position at the West, and that is telling you about the Kings. They are doing well since they defeated us. But talking about the Celtics, Daniel, one thing that I want to emphasize, and the people are going to say that I'm a hater. Let's just look at the two players that just extended the contract from the same class. Okay, Buddy Hield was longer on the college, 4 years, than Jaylen Brown. Okay, so practically, you can say, Daniel, that he's older than Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is Buddy Hield 25 or 26. 25 or 26. 25 or 26 years, and 23 Jaylen Brown. Buddy Hield extended, if I'm correct, from the range 86 millions to 106 millions. Jaylen Brown extended contract from the range 103 millions until 115 millions. That means that Jaylen Brown will be way more paid. Buddy Hield will get 86 millions guaranteed, and Jaylen Brown will get 103 millions guaranteed. This is 17 more millions in 4 years guaranteed for Jaylen Brown without incentives. Okay, so look at Buddy Hield at this game. 38.21, 35 points, 14 of 24 shooting, 7 of 12 for 3. I repeat so that everybody can hear. 7 of 12 for 3, including some unbelievable in the transition threes, because their coach, Luke Walton, he is giving emphasis in the transitional threes. That is why Nemanja Bjelica, Buddy Hield, and Corey Joseph and Bogdan Bogdanovic, they had some crazy transitional threes. But 35 points, 7 of 12 for 3, plus 6 rebounds and 2 assists, shooting 14 out of 24, which is like 65% in 38 minutes. Are you kidding me? And the people, what is the comment on that performance from the Celtics fans? He just had the good night. I mean, everybody that is saying that, he's just an idiot. Buddy Hield is ascending star. He's the great shooter. He has been shooting machine in Oklahoma State. I have been watching him, and he translated his game to NBA level. Look at Jaylen Brown. 18 points, 8 rebounds. Solid game. 7 of 16 shooting, 45%. 4 of 7 for 3, great, 50+%. But compare those two players. 35 points, 18 points. 7 of 12 for 3, 4 of 7 for 3. So can you tell me, Daniel, from your perspective, who is the star there? Who outplay whom? And who is overpaid and who is underpaid? I don't want to take one game sample size, but it was kind of duel between the two players from the same class that they just got extension this year. Who outplay whom? Buddy Hield, Jaylen Brown, or Jaylen Brown, Buddy Hield? You be the judge.
Yeah, you're right. Again, people are going to say it's only one game. We don't want to, go that route.
Right.
But, come on. Like, literally, if you're Jaylen Brown, you need to, like we said, you claimed you were better than, you claimed you deserved to start over Gordon Hayward last year.
Right.
You said that you wanted a max contract from the Celtics. They gave it to you.
Right.
It's games like that versus people that you are expected to go toe-to-toe with. And the fact that Buddy Hield dominated that game.
Less paid 17 millions than Jaylen Brown. It is blowing my mind. Right?
Yeah, but, again, we can understand, because unlike Jaylen Brown in this situation, they haven't given, Hield his contract extension yet. They're waiting until his contract expires to then do it, which is pretty much what you and me said the Celtics should have done with Brown. Because if Brown is truly committed to the Celtics, he's not going to go anywhere, regardless of whether the max contract was given to him this summer or next summer, in this case. So Buddy Hield is one of those players that the team is waiting until next summer to give him his contract in this situation, and go, if they're going to give him the max contract at all. But Jaylen Brown, you've already been given your max contract. Now you have no issues to worry about in the starting lineup because you're getting the chance to start every game. That's a one-on-one matchup you should be getting up for to go toe-to-toe. Similar to what, ladies and gentlemen, let's say it like this. Similar to Paul Pierce. Every time Paul Pierce got to go toe-to-toe with LeBron James, Paul Pierce always took it to another level to try to match LeBron James point for point in this case. So this is all we're saying for Jaylen Brown or for Jason Tatum in this case, that the moment you have somebody that is supposedly in the same draft class or plays the same position you do on the floor, and they're a max player, you got to basically step it up and go toe-to-toe with them.
Right. And the people, Daniel, the people will say, you know what Jaylen Brown fans are doing? After every bad game that Jaylen Brown plays, you can literally you can't literally find any one of them. But when Jaylen Brown plays one great game, they will just jump in front of you and say, ha ha ha, I told you that Jaylen Brown is, ladies and gentlemen, max contract guy is not the guy who can give you 10 or 15 good regular season games. Okay, this is not what max guy is the guy who is leading you to the playoffs, who can lead you to win the playoff series, and who can lead you to even higher standards, maybe championship. That is what maximum contract guy means, We don't need the player to have one game great, one game bad. One game great, 2 games bad. 5 games good, 2 games bad. And this is what Jaylen Brown is. Inconsistent. This is what he needs to correct. And like you said, now, without Kemba Walker and without, Gordon Hayward, now with inferior competition that we will face, he will face Buddy Hield on his court Monday night. Let me now see Jaylen Brown. Let me see Jaylen Brown and his revenge to Buddy Hield. Brooklyn without Kyrie, without Kevin Durant. Are you kidding me? Twice? So, please, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum need to step up, need to carry the Celtics, because our boat must not sink without Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward. So Sacramento, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, Brooklyn, Brooklyn, all 3 winnable games. The Celtics should go 3-0, even without Kemba Walker. I would be really surprised and shocked if the Celtics lose one of the games. What do you say?
Well, I agree with you. Right now, you know that Kyrie Irving will not play in that game here in Boston. We still have no word whether or not Kyrie will be playing the very next night when the Celtics travel to Brooklyn for the second night of that, home and home series with them. But you should win 3-0, especially in this situation after losing to Sacramento just the other day in Sacramento. You should be taking this game absolutely personal to basically try and make a statement and show that team in the situation that that game in Sacramento was nothing but a fluke in this situation. So that's the type of game Jaylen Brown has to come up big along with Jason Tatum and send a message to those guys that you dominating us in Sacramento again was a fluke in this situation. I'm just as good as you are, Buddy Hield, in this situation. I can go toe-to-toe with you and even outscore you. Now, if we have another performance where Buddy Hield scores 40 and Jason Tatum is at 18 and Tatum is at 15, then, ladies and gentlemen, something is seriously wrong at that point. You should get, again, these are two teams, 3 games, that the teams are not in the same, class as you. You should be taking advantage of it and getting those wins easily.
Without Fox and Bagley. Kings without Fox and Bagley. You're playing home. So what do you want more?
Exactly. Pretty much you're on a level playing field with them. 2 players missing from their side, 2 players missing from yours. But if you truly are, as you say, the better team, better from last year, and you got 2 max contract players on this court, you should win. Because like we said, there will be no questioning whether or not the Clippers should win with Kawhi and Paul George. There's no questioning whether the Lakers should win with LeBron and Anthony Davis. No questioning whether the Sixers should win with Embiid and Ben Simmons. So why the heck is it that in this situation you should question whether the Celtics should be winning this game if you truly have 2 max players on this team right now in Tatum and Brown? Ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking about the fact that they haven't, it doesn't matter the fact that they haven't gotten that money yet. We're talking about the fact that you all say and they themselves say they're worthy of those contracts. So you should not win any of the next 3 games, because if that's the statements you make, then you got to play like it.
And that's it for this chat number 47. Again, the Celtics are 2-3 on this. On this road trip. The Celtics will face Sacramento Kings Monday and Brooklyn Nets Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and if I'm correct, 6 p.m. Eastern in Brooklyn Friday. Brooklyn Nets. Then we will have our show on Saturday, 30th November, to recap those 3 games. The Celtics are back in Boston, and in the next period, I think we're playing Philadelphia or Milwaukee in December. And since until the Thanksgiving, the schedule is favorable to the Celtics, and the Celtics should really stay at the top of the Eastern Conference. The Celtics are number 3. They have 1 loss more than Milwaukee and Miami. They didn't play Miami yet, and they played once with Milwaukee, win, and once with Toronto, number 4, win, once with Indiana, number 5, win, but Indiana number 6, win, and lost from Philadelphia, number 5. So we will see what happens. We will see what will happen with Kemba Walker. We are waiting on updates about his injury, and we will inform you on our page, We Bleed Green Celtics Fans Forum, about the injury. That was all. It was chat number 47. The Celtics on the longest road trip, West Coast road trip, 2-3. The wins against Phoenix Suns and Golden State Warriors, and the losses against Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Clippers, and last night Denver Nuggets. That is your Celtics Talk Radio crew, Daniel and Igor, and we're wishing you good night. Daniel?
Yep, so again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to you all Saturday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. in this case. And until that time, go Celtics.
Go Celtics.